Crimson Trace announces Laser Guard Pro for today's most popular concealed carry firearms, combining a red or green laser sight with 150 lumen light, taking personal defense to the next level. Available now at your local dealer.
Welcome to Tom Gresham's Gun Talk, where a right is always a right, not a privilege.
All right, back with you, 866-TALK-GUN, or just dial Tom Talk Gun. The question on the floor is, do you carry? If so, what do you carry, and how did you come to that decision about what you carried? Also, honestly, what was the process? How did you come to the decision to carry a gun for self-protection? Because I know a ton of people who are gun owners, who are shooters, hunters, even competitive shooters who don't carry. They don't carry, or if they carry, they don't carry every day. That's a question. If you don't carry every day, how do you decide when you're going to carry? How do you decide today's the day? Or this part of town is worse than the other part of town? God, it must be nice to be clairvoyant. We talk about shooting a lot around here. And, of course, if you shoot a lot, prices go up because you spend a lot on ammo. You burn up a lot of ammo. We've known for years that hand loading saves money, but there's more to hand loading than that. It's actually an activity in and of itself that I'd like to talk to you about. But if I'm going to do that, we're going to bring in somebody that really knows hand loading. Chris Hodgdon from Hodgdon Powder, the people who, they're the massive reloading powder company, or if you will, propellant company. Chris, how are you, sir?
I'm doing great, Tom. Thanks for having me on.
You survived the SHOT Show. Did you get the crud?
You know, I did okay this time. It just seemed like it was a really brisk show. I think the attitudes of everyone at the show was generally better. I think it was better than last year. So it was very positive, I thought.
I agree. I mean, people, they talk about the Trump slump, and everybody bought a lot of stuff leading up to the 2016 election. Made sense. Hillary Clinton said she was going. In every speech, she said she was going to take away our guns, so we kind of believed her. So we bought up everything, and in essence, we bought like the next 2 or 3 years worth of purchases all in one time, and so sales went down. I mean, there's no getting around it.
That's exactly right.
Last year was tough. This year, less tough, but still tough for some folks, but getting a little bit better. But I think we're looking at light at the end of the tunnel now.
Well, that's true, and it's nice to be in consumables. There's a lot of basements full of gunpowder and garages full, so they're finally starting to get through some of it.
When somebody, let's get the first thing out of the way, when somebody asks you about gunpowder, isn't it dangerous, storing gunpowder at your house? You have to go through the whole powder versus explosive versus propellant thing. How do you do that?
Well, it's always good to check your powder on an infrequent basis, but it's really powder is will last forever if you take care of it. It likes a dark, cool place. It likes a tight lid and all. But if you do open it up, you might want to occasionally check it and make sure, if there's a strong ether smell that comes out of there, or there could be some dust, some rust-colored dust that comes out. If that's the case, which is very, very rare, that means it's starting to break down. But like I said, if you keep it in a dark, cool place, it should last you for your lifetime. But like I said, it's always good to check it once in a while.
Good idea to check. When I started this out, I was mentioning a lot of people get into reloading because they say, I'm going to save money. No one has ever saved money reloading. I just want to get that out of the way. But what you do is you end up shooting a whole lot more for the same money.
Well, that's exactly right. And I think you're right. You're right, Tom. I think it goes beyond saving money. It's really a pride of ownership.
You bet.
There's no better feeling than going and experimenting, and I kind of look at it like cooking. You're putting together a recipe, and boy, when you get that recipe right for a given firearm, and you're going out and you're sighting in, or you go out into the field and see it happen before your eyes. It's so exciting to see that happen, that you created that, and then that's what we're trying to do as a company, is to help push that forward. That pride of ownership. There's nothing better than that.
Well, it's, you know what? I hadn't thought of it in those terms, but I think you're right, because instead of saying I'm carrying, ammo for my rifle, now I'm carrying my ammo. I made this ammo.
Yeah, exactly.
I experimented with it. I went out and shot groups, and I changed the powder charge by 0.2, every time of a grain or whatever. I worked on it. I worked on it, and I watched the groups get smaller and smaller and smaller as I changed different things. And now I know I have the absolute best load that this rifle can possibly shoot, and no one else on the planet, no other individual has ever done this for my rifle. I did that thing.
Exactly, and you look across the landscape of the best competitors out there in the given sport that they're in. Most of them are going to be shooting their hand loads, because you will get much better groups. Yes, given that factory ammo is a whole lot better than it's ever been with the premium bullets and everything, but really the top competitors out there, especially in the very popular PRS game, the long distance shooting, they are shooting hand loads just because not only is it a precision shooting event, but you're shooting in a lot of volume.
Yes.
For that matter, you really need to hand load if you really want to get it for your rifle for the conditions out there.
We always used to say, I wonder if it's still true, we used to say that for metallic, and for those who don't know, a long time ago I was the editor of Handloader magazine, to go way back. We used to say that with metallic, pistol and rifle cartridges, you could save around 40-45% on your cost. Is that still a good number?
Yeah, I think the costs are narrowing a little bit. I think you can buy 9mm and .223 Remington ammo out there that is much less expensive than it's ever been, because it's a lot more competitive now and it's a lot more available. For sure, but if you're a high volume shooter, particularly 3-gun, a cowboy action, those sports, boy, you really have to reload because that really will save you in the long run. Before there was just, you would be able to go out and buy bullets and the components to go with them, of course, and you'd want to load your own premium bullets. But now factory ammo, sure, it's definitely changed. You can buy a premium Nosler AccuBond in a Federal case, so those things have changed a lot, and you're getting what you want. But also the price tag is pretty pricey with those.
I was just going to say, if you're comparing premium hunting ammo, for instance, you're going to be able to load that for roughly half that cost. Hey, Chris, can I get you to hold a second? I got to take a quick break, and when we come back, I want to explain to people, first of all, how easy it is to get into hand loading, but also how deep you could dive into it. We're talking with Chris Hodgdon from Hodgdon Powder about hand loading. If you have a hand loading question, by all means, give us a holler, 866-TALK-GUN. I'm Tom Gresham. This is Gun Talk.
Built for personal and home protection, the Smith & Wesson M&P 380 Shield EZ pistol features an easy-to-load magazine with load assist button, an easy-to-rack slide, and the M2.0 crisp trigger and enhanced grip texture. With its easy-to-rack, easy-to-pack, and easy-to-shoot design, the M&P 380 Shield EZ is perfectly sized 380 protection. Find out more at smith-wesson.com.
You got your carry permit, and that's good. But you could use more training. Get the DVDs, which have what you need. Springfield Armory presents Concealed Carry 1 and Concealed Carry 2 with Bata Group. Learn specific concealed carry skills from top gun fighting trainers. Get trained. Be prepared. This really is life and death. ShopGunTalk.com. That's ShopGunTalk.com.
Brownells has gone retro. Check out Brownells' new line of retro AR-15 and AR-style 308 rifles at Brownells.com/retro. Whether you're looking for Eugene Stoner's original 308 design, the famous M16A1, Air Force 601, or the XM177 carbine, Brownells has the classic, new production, old-school rifle of your dreams. Own the firearm you used in basic training, carried in service, or that Grandpa always talks about. See more at Brownells.com/retro.
It's interesting. If you've never done any hand loading, it seems like this mysterious witchcraft kind of a thing. And then once somebody just demonstrates it to you, it's kind of like that forehead slapping thing of, really? That's it? We're talking with Chris Hodgdon from Hodgdon Powder. And, Chris, you explain to people, look, if it's metallic, there's basically 4 components. You got a case, you got primer, you got powder, you got a bullet. And you basically just put it all back together. It's really not that involved, is it?
No, it's pretty simple, and we've sort of taken the initiative this year. We're kind of going back to our grassroots, and it's real interesting. We definitely want to take the mystery out of reloading with our reloading roadshows that we're looking at this year, and it's really interesting. My granddad, he went on the road in the 60s and the 70s with people like Vernon Spear and Joyce Hornady and Fred Huntington, who started RCBS, John Nosler, all those guys, all those pioneers. And really back then, nobody really knew how to reload. And they would go across the country and they'd set up these big circus tents. And they'd have movies and food and drinks, and of course they'd have the reloading portion of it is the main spotlight. But they wanted to teach people that all the basics of reloading and how fun it is and how safe it is. And we're basically doing the same thing now. Going on the road again, we're partnering with the industry, like MEC and Nosler and RCBS and Redding, Sierra, Hornady, Dillon, you name it. We're partnering with many of our friends in the industry, and we're going out on the road to local retailers. We're having retailers sign up when we introduce that at the SHOT Show. We're trying to get some interest, from retailers. They set up a date with us, and we'll find a certified NRA instructor. Then we'll make sure that the instructor is hooked up with them. And this is not a hands-on thing per se. It's just a demonstration.
Okay.
An hour or two at a gun store, a demonstration on how to reload. And there's a whole new generation out there, we think, that doesn't know how to reload, but they want to try it.
Well, and it's never been easier to get started. I mean, I can remember when I got started, you basically you got a loading manual like you guys publish, Hornady and Sierra. Right. And then you got the tools. You weren't sure what you needed, but you basically would try to read about it. And if you didn't have somebody to show you, we didn't have a YouTube. We didn't have the online help we have today. And we also, honestly, we didn't have manufacturers like RCBS and Hornady and all these guys selling complete kits where they say, okay, just buy the kit. It will have everything you need in it. It's that easy now.
That's right. And there is still some of that mystery, and it's one of those kind of hobbies that you need to be paying attention. And so we want to teach people how to do it right.
Yeah, I mean, you don't want to be watching TV when you reload. You certainly don't want to be texting. You got to pay attention to what you're doing. You don't want to have double charges or miss a charge.
Right.
That kind of a deal. No, clearly no smoking. Yes, exactly. Yeah. There are some safety procedures, but it's not difficult. It is immensely rewarding. I will tell you, for me, it was therapy. I used to do a lot of reloading honestly, when I had a crummy job, I would come home and reload because everything went away because you had to focus. I had to be there. I had to pay attention to what was going on. I loved it. Unfortunately, I loved it so much, I ended up making more ammo than a man can shoot. It was like I had this little one-man factory. I'm working off, those guys at work, but it was great. I mean, I loaded all sorts of stuff. So, all right. So, tell me about the Reloading Roadshow. How do people find out more about it? Are you going to have it on your website?
Well, yeah, we're going to put it on our website once we get those dates set up with the retail partner, and we have our instructor all set. We'll put those dates on our website. And make sure that we partner with that retailer and push it from his end, to do some co-op or something like that. So once we have those events, we're going to start pushing those things out through our social media channels, and make sure that we get some good videos of those events and things. So it's going to be a win-win situation for the industry and the retailers, and eventually down the road, hey, maybe they're going to buy a pound of Hodgdon powder. That's the hope.
Yeah, you hope. And it occurs to me, I'm sitting here looking at your website. It's Hodgdon, Hodgdon, Hodgdon.com. And for a lot of folks who've been loading a long time, if they haven't checked to see what has changed, they ought to go take a look because you have new powders out. I mean, I'm looking, here's a brand new powder that's specifically for the 300 Blackout. There's a lot of stuff that has happened over the last 10 or 15 years that if you haven't been plugged in and paying attention, you're missing out.
That's right. There's so much new technology out there that Hodgdon really is. We're kind of known for innovation, and we've got things like temperature insensitive powders, so your point of impact doesn't change when it's extremely hot or extremely cold, or you're going out and up into the mountains to hunt elk. Your point of impact when you're sighting in at home and it's ambient temperature at 72 degrees or whatever that is, and then you go out in the mountains.
Or it's 100 here. It's 100 in Louisiana when I'm working up my loads, and then I go up and it's 22 degrees when I'm hunting elk. Yes.
Yeah, exactly, and those sort of things. And then there's the technology of the copper fouling reducer technology that we've incorporated into many of our newer powders. Wow. And that's really nice because that extends your shooting pleasure even longer without having to clean it. Or at the end of the day, your cleanup is very minimal. So those kind of new technologies have really extended reloading pleasure tremendously.
And I just saw a release from you guys that you're going to be distributing a different powder, right?
Yes, we are. We have entered a distributing agreement with Alliant Powders. Mm-hmm. That just came to be during the SHOT Show, and we're proud sellers of Alliant Powders now because it's really going to work out well, we think, because our customers, our wholesale customers, will be able to buy all of it through one source. It just makes it easier. It all rides along with our powders, Hodgdon, IMR, Winchester, and now Alliant, all in one truck. So it's easier for our wholesale customers to get it all.
And the other thing I was going to mention to people, and you might touch on it, is if you haven't paid attention, there are some very cool, interesting powders that you may not have taken advantage of. The one that pops into my head is Trail Boss, in terms of if you're trying to create lower powered loads, lighter recoiling loads, practice loads for somebody. Trail Boss is an amazing powder.
Well, it really is, Tom. It's a dense powder, so it fills the case. It was originally designed for the cowboy action guys in the 45 Colt. And right. when you put in a fast burning powder, it doesn't take up very much in the case, and it's really easy to get double charges and a 45 Colt case because it's so big.
Which is dangerous.
Yes, and so when you're loading Trail Boss, it fills the case almost to the top, and you know you're shooting lead bullets, and it's you can't double charge it, and so it extends your shooting pleasure. It's very clean, and it's a number of cartridges. Just about every rifle cartridge out there, if you follow our data and our formula, it makes light recoil loads.
Let me give them an example. First of all, you do not want to go with really reduced loads of your slow-burning powders that you use in your Magnum cases. That is not a safe practice. Don't do that. But I'm looking at a 300 Win Mag, all right? And everybody says, I'd like to shoot it more, but it kicks a lot. Okay, well, great. How about a 150 grain bullet going 1,600 feet per second, and in a totally safe load? 300 Magnum, 150 grain bullet going only 1,600 feet per second. That's a pussycat. You can shoot that all day long.
Well, why not? Exactly. You know, and you can go out and do some plinking with it all day, and then, you know, if you really wanted to get some good practice time in, and you know, if recoil does bother you, that's plenty good load to use. And you know, there's so many, we get so many requests for youth and women who don't, you know, particularly care for recoil, a lot of recoil, and so we have loads for those with Trail Boss and H4895 that you can download, and many different cartridges. So that's another angle of reloading. You know, you really can't do that with factory loads.
That's my point exactly. Chris, I am excited about the Reloading Roadshow. As you get more information on it, let's get you back on here and fill in the blanks, okay?
Okay, yeah, sure, Tom. I'm looking forward to that.
And any gun store, any retailer out there that wants to participate in that, I guess they just contact you guys.
Yes, that's right. Mm-hmm.
Very good. I appreciate it, Hodgdon. Great company, great family. Appreciate it, sir. Well, I love talking reloading. Can you tell? It is such a cool deal. You can do it at any level. Maximum performance, low performance, low recoil, super accuracy. Are you a hair loader? How'd you get into that? We'd like to know that. When we come back, we'll be talking about what's happening on the state level, gun control laws, but also occasionally a good one. We can talk about that as well.
This is Milo Lardbottom, Junior Under Assistant Deputy to the Assistant Director of Deputy Affairs for the Department of Homeland Security, with a special message for listeners of Tom Gresham's Gun Talk. We know who you are. We know where you are. You're right by your radio. We have special cameras that can see into your radio. I have a special monitor built into my aluminum foil helmet. We are watching you. So don't try anything funny, Buster.
Thank you, Milo. We appreciate that. Hey, Tom Gresham, glad that you're with us. It's Gun Talk, by the way. If you just landed here, the show is called Gun Talk, and you're welcome to be a part of it. Just give me a call, 866-TALK-GUN. We talk a lot about, at least these days, that an awful lot of the action in the gun rights movement or efforts to restrict gun rights are happening at the state level as opposed to the federal level in your state legislatures. And we talk a lot about some of the bills introduced and actually some of the things that get passed that are negative toward our rights. But we don't hear a lot about things that are good. Well, it's a pleasure right now to welcome in Illinois State Senator Neil Anderson. He's Republican, with some news for us here. Senator, thank you so much for joining us.
Hey, thanks for having me on. I really appreciate the time.
Absolutely. So, all right, this bill, SB, I think it's 0160. Explain what this is.
So this bill is it's about as common sense as it comes. This is just going to be able to give school districts throughout the state of Illinois the option of being able to incorporate gun safety and or hunter safety courses into their curriculum. The thought behind this was, in my personal opinion, I think as far as the gun violence in the United States goes, we've just gotten away from teaching kids how to respect guns. So the idea is just to allow school districts, if the school districts see fit, to incorporate that into their curriculum and teach kids how to handle a gun, gun safety, and expose them to what a gun can do, and hopefully they'll respect it a little more.
Well, is that currently prohibited in Illinois?
It's not prohibited. There are some school districts that do it, but it's not part of the curriculum. They offer it as more of an elective, per se.
Okay. So this would allow them to make it part of the curriculum?
Correct. Yep.
Interesting. Why did you do this? What's your background?
Well, I'm a fireman and paramedic by trade in the city of Moline in the Quad Cities. And I grew up out in the country. I grew up working in the summers in northeast Nebraska with my grandfather, who was a large animal vet, and grew up obviously a big hunter and gun person. So guns are at the core of my family and obviously at the core of the United States. And so I think all the trend that we're seeing here in states, including Illinois, of more gun control, I think we're simply going the wrong way about it. We just need to inform people and educate them.
I noticed that there's a bill introduced in the Illinois legislature that would require people who are applying for, I guess, a FOID card to be able to purchase guns to submit their information on their social media accounts so the government can go and look at all their social media posts to determine if they're worthy. What's going on there?
Well, you talk about George Orwell, 1984. This is it's now coming to fruition. This, among others, there was also a bill introduced that's an outright, quote unquote, assault weapons ban. It's getting crazy, and which is why I introduced another bill. I introduced Senate Bill 173, which basically says that if you want to introduce any kind of gun control legislation, you have to have the equivalent of a concealed carry course to be able to introduce that.
I thought you were going to say they had to have the equivalent of a high school diploma, but who knows?
Yeah.
I got an idea for you. I mean, this is kind of weird, but for things like this where they say, well, you'd have to submit your social media history and all, just add an amendment to the bill that said, and that would apply to anyone seeking public office. You'd have to submit the history of your social media accounts before you can run for office in the state and see how fast that thing evaporates.
Yeah, no kidding. Well, unfortunately, in Illinois, we live in one of the most autocratic states in the nation, meaning that the president and the Speaker of the House have, kind of carte blanche on what bills that they have called. I've introduced legislation the last 3 years in a row to repeal the FOID card, and I can't even get the bill heard in committee for a vote. So it's very frustrating in the state of Illinois when it comes to specific legislation that you want to be heard. But unfortunately, if the president of the Senate and the Speaker of the House don't want it heard, they simply don't call it.
And that's why we have had to go to the courts, and we've had a couple of really good decisions out of Illinois. And we're willing to go back. We keep going back and doing whatever we have to do. Basically, if they're going to try to take away our guns in the legislature, then we're going to go back and fight them. And now that it appears we have a more favorable Supreme Court, it's even better because once we get knocked down by the Illinois courts and the appeals courts, we can take it to SCOTUS.
Yeah, and I tell you, from one gun person to another, we really appreciate you guys' help in the courts when some of this ridiculous legislation comes. Well,
we appreciate what you're doing, Senator. Thank you so much. We really appreciate it.
Yeah, no, thank you very much for the time, and carry on.
All right, Senator Neil Anderson from Illinois. Some good news out of Illinois there. All right, 866-TALK-GUN. Those of you on hold, we're going to get to you in just a second. If you were on hold and dropped out, call us back. We'll get you back in there. 866-TALK-GUN.
For more than 70 years, Timney Triggers has been enhancing the shooter's experience. Whether it's a local competition, a day at the range, or even the hunt of a lifetime. Setting the standard in aftermarket triggers, Timney is now producing more than 170 models of triggers for bolt-action rifles, shotguns, AR rifles, and semi-automatic rifles. Proudly made in the USA since 1946. Find your new trigger at TemneyTriggers.com.
Want great deals on guns, ammunition, and gear? Download the free Gundealio app today. With Gundealio, you can search for deals, listen to the Gun Talk podcast, watch gun videos, read gun news, and get notifications right to your phone about deals and special offers. Save money on the products you want from the companies you love. New deals, discounts, and rebates added daily. Gundealio, available for free in the App Store and Google Play.
This land, once wild and free, fades now from our memory. But I remember what it was like, what we were like, what we are capable of when we band together. Perhaps more than any other landscape, wetlands embody the life-giving abundance that nature has to offer. And perhaps more than any other organization, Ducks Unlimited is working to ensure that our continent's wetlands not only survive, but thrive for generations well beyond this one. These natural wonders are where waterfowl begin their cycle of life, where the deer and the antelope play, and where we, the people, gather together to see and share what makes the outdoors so great. The time is now to band together with organizations like Ducks Unlimited. The time is now to rescue our wetlands.
All right, back with you. I had some interesting online conversations recently with some folks talking about bear guns. What do you carry for bears? Is any handgun big enough for protection against a charging bear? The answer is probably no. It certainly would not be what you'd want, but it's probably what you're going to have. And that being the case, how do you make the most out of it? Hey, first of all, you got to be able to get it. You got to be able to get it out. You got to be able to draw it. If you carried a pack, that hip holster may not be the best. You may want a chest rig. One of the guys in the conversation was Phil Shoemaker, who has been a gun writer and an Alaska guide for many years. He ended up having to shoot a big old grizzly 2 years ago. Had a 9mm. But he had it loaded with buffalo bore bullets, hardcast lead bullets. And even at that, it took several shots, and this thing is like 3 feet from him and almost on top of his clients. And he would be the first to tell you, a 9 is not what you really want, but that's what he had. But he had the forethought, the wherewithal, the smarts to have good ammo. It is all about penetration. Yeah, I know. For people, you want 18 inches of penetration. For a bear, I want 3, 4, 5 feet, whatever I can get. And I want as much power as I can get. I carry a 357 when I'm in bear country, and I'm thinking about going to a 10. Yes, a 44 would be better. A 454 Kasua would be better. A 500 line ball would be even better. Hey, how about a 4570 rifle? Better still. Oh, yeah, guess what? I'll give it away here. Because Jim can't talk, he has laryngitis. He won a 4570 rifle. Cool, we'll talk about that as we go along here. Let's talk with Jerry in Spokane on line 2. Range report, Old Savage. What you got there, Jerry?
I have a mid-'80s manufacturer Savage 110 in 30-06, so pre-AccuTrigger.
Okay. With
a Nikon 6-8 or 6-18 side focus with BDC.
Mm-hmm.
And I shoot Nosler trophy grade 165 grains because I don't reload right yet.
Yep.
I met I've always been a decent shot with my rifle. I met a gentleman who retired from the Marine Corps, and he was the instructor for the Scout Sniper School instructors.
Pretty fair shot.
Yes.
Yeah.
He got me to where I was hitting a 10-inch target at 1,000 meters prone.
Wow.
600 meters seated, and 150 meters offhand with a sling.
You know what?
One day of in class,
right,
and 1 day of range time.
Your story goes to a point that I've tried to make, and it's so hard to get people to hear what you're saying, which is a good shooting coach can turn your world around because you don't even know what's possible till you get that kind of instruction. What do you think?
I think that's absolutely true. He taught me about windage. And we did this on a day where we had 15-mile-an-hour winds and snow, and it was 27 degrees.
Holy cow. And, of course, you got a good spotter, which makes a big difference. But still, it's like he's teaching you things. At the end of it, you're responding to inputs that you would not even have been aware of before you did this.
Correct. I have never adjusted turrets in my life before this. I always was like, wind's coming from that way. I think I'll try to hold here.
Yeah, hold it somewhere out there. I hope it works. I know. And then when you're done, you're going, well, that's actually scientific. Yeah, it's ballistics, and that's math. And once you understand it all, now you still have to be able to shoot well and press the trigger and not disrupt the aim and all of that. But there's just a lot to it. And let me ask you this, and I know the answer. I'm just baiting you here.
Okay.
Just how much fun was that process?
It was a blast once he was done asking me to do math in my head.
Well, that's why we have these little apps on our phones now to do all that stuff. We got ballistic apps that help out. But, yeah, I know what you mean. When they're trying to explain it to me, my head starts hurting. I'm going, and they go, don't worry about it. We got a Kestrel. We got your ballistic programs. We got everything you need here. It's going to work out fine. Don't worry about it. Just hang on till we get to the end of the class. It'll be okay.
Exactly.
Well, that's great. Wonderful range report. I love the old Savage 110. That was my first big game rifle that I owned, left-handed model 110 in 7 Remington mag. And still have that rifle. Very good rifle. Thank you, Jerry. I appreciate that. Ken's in Medford, line 4. Ken, you guys got a mess in Oregon these days.
Yes, we do. Your show today has been awesome. It's hit on so many things in my life. It's crazy because I'm a reloader. I've been a shooter since I was 7 years old, and I started reloading when I was 12 with my dad. What we've got going on up here in Oregon is after the election, we have a Democratic governor. We have a majority, supermajority in our state Senate and our state House of Representatives.
Right. So there's basically nothing you can do.
Well, actually, there's one thing that we can do, and they're working on it, and it hasn't been 100% guaranteed, is that to stop the quorum, taking 12 of the Republican senators out of the legislature and moving them to Idaho in a hunting camp someplace, set them up for a couple of months so they can't have a quorum. That's how desperate we're getting. What they have right now, the biggest one that we're fighting is Senate Bill 501.
Okay.
They are trying to, first of all, make you get a permit from the sheriff's department to be able to buy a gun. Then you have to go through the process of applying to buy a gun and adding a 14-day waiting period. And then if you are able to buy the gun, then you can buy the gun. But on the other side of that, they are also in this particular piece of legislation, they are trying to limit the magazine capacity of any gun to 5 rounds. 5
rounds, a 20-round limit of how many rounds you can buy in a month, right?
Yes.
Yeah,
now, I've been on the legislative website trying to get the actual bill so you can read what it says. Unfortunately, what they're doing is they're only putting a summary of the bill.
Yeah, it's a mess. And Ken, look, I appreciate it. Let me just give that out. It's SB 501. If you're in Oregon, you absolutely have to get involved. You got to get involved on the state level. You got to get involved on the federal level. And you got to get plugged in so you know what's going on so you can show up there. It's a mess right now. My only hope is that this doesn't get passed. If it does, maybe it gets overturned. But right now, it's unconscionable what's going on in Oregon. are back. By the way, if you have not checked out our podcast, by all means, when you miss a show, you can always catch it. Podcasts are available, wherever podcasts are found. You can also listen to it with your Gun Dealio app. Oh, boy, I have found some great deals on Gun Dealio this week. A Smith & Wesson M&P Shield for $249. Crazy stuff. Let's see. What was the other one? Oh, it was the, a lot of people wouldn't care, but it was a left-handed Ruger 77 FTW. They're really high-end. In $375 Ruger for like, I don't know, $699. It's about half price. It was crazy. Some great deals on the Gun Dealio app. So anyway, but make sure you have the Gun Dealio app on your phone. You can listen to all the calls, all the past shows, also to the after show, which you don't hear on the radio. We'll be getting to the after show in just a minute. So there you go. Let's see. Line 2. Brad's with us. Cedar City, Utah. Brad, what in the devil do you have there? What kind of gun?
Well, what I use for home defense, this is a question you had earlier that took interest in what I was thinking about. I use at home defense a M1 carbine.
The 30 caliber carbine?
Yep. Mm-hmm.
Okay. What bullets, what ammo are you using?
I'm using, I found some hand-loaded 100-grain hollow points that Dad had when he was alive that he had made. Tested those out, taken them out to the range, and they work out real well. So I figured, you know what, this would be an awesome home defense gun.
Yeah, actually, when you think about it, for those who don't know, this is a straight wall cartridge. It's in essence, it's really almost a handgun cartridge in a 5-pound rifle, 30 caliber. You can even call it the first of the pistol caliber carbines, the PCCs. Hornady, by the way, has a defensive load for that, Hornady critical defense ammo for the 30 caliber carbine. I look at it and go, why not? Now, the only thing I would offer is that you need to be aware of pass-through. Those bullets will go through a lot of different walls of sheetrock.
Yes, definitely, and that's why I decided that unless I had the hollow points, I certainly wouldn't use it for home defense with that in mind.
It won't make any difference. The hollow points will go through just as much, maybe even more so than the full metal jackets.
Oh, is that right? Okay, I was not aware of that.
Yeah. You're looking at going through at least 3 double walls of sheetrock with those bullets.
Ooh, yeah, that could cause a problem.
Yeah, I mean, seriously. I mean, that's and all handgun bullets will do the same thing. It's not like it's different from a handgun. Actually, weirdly enough, the AR-15 does not do that. The little bullets you use in AR-15s, we can get them to go through 2 layers of sheetrock separated by insulation, and cannot get it to go through the second wall when we do all of our testing. So just kind of a heads up. I mean, it's fine as long as it fits the situation where you are and you know, all of that. But just understand that the walls in your house probably will not stop those bullets. It just kind of all depends on all the variables, but just it's not a bad choice. It's an interesting choice. I actually don't know of anybody else who uses a 30 caliber carbine for their home protection gun. But with the right ammo, why not? There are a lot of pistol caliber carbines, PCCs, out these days, and more coming. And I think they're actually a pretty good idea. I like the ones that use handgun magazines because you can put a 17-round mag in there and you're off to the races. Almost no recoil. Put a red dot sight on it and call it happy. Hey, Jack, don't go anywhere. We're going to get to you in the after show because I do want to talk reloading. If you'd like to join us, if there's a question you want to ask or something you want to throw out and you want to do it in the safety and anonymity of the after show, call us right now, 866-TALK-GUN. In the meantime, give some serious thought to your personal safety. Please, please, please get some advanced training. It can make all the difference. It is that important. Have yourself a good week.